Hi, and welcome to Wednesday. Today we're going to talk about dogs. I get a lot of letters from people asking about what their animals are doing. This one is from Candy. We have lived in our house for over 30 years and have had problems with our dogs seeing something in the living room. This usually happens at night after we're in bed for the evening. Our one dog really was bothered the most. She would growl, cry, go crazy on some nights. She would either stare in the living room crying or barking, or the steps going upstairs to our bedroom, she would do the same thing. She would refuse to come in or up the steps unless we carried her. We always joke that there were ghosts that must come out at night after we get settled in bed. What can we do? Candy, you need to pay attention to the animals. If your animals won't go down the basement without you, or they stand at the top of the steps and growl down, or stand at the bottom of the steps and growl something up, or lay in bed and growl in the hallway. Dogs, not all dogs, it's like people. Some dogs are very aware of it and some dogs are not. So, but keep this in mind. If your pet is looking eye level and growling, hair on the back of their neck is up, there is somebody there they do not like. And start smudging, have the priest or ordained minister or priest come out and bless the house. That's always a good thing. But pay attention to like kids. Dogs can see stuff too. This one is from Jan. Is it possible for animals to be earthbound? Golly. Uh, I recently lost my best friend Buddy, a white shepherd. Recently, I thought I heard him make his little snort sound that he used to make to clear his nose. Not really a sneeze, but more of a snort. Certainly, we have all been overwhelmed with the grief since his death because it was sudden. He was 11, but we just weren't expecting it. And he was loved, he was a member of the family. But he passed away on October 1st, so it has not been very long. To be honest, his food bowl is still out, and so is his bed and all of his toys. The only thing missing is Buddy. I hope it was not my imagination hearing that sound since I miss him so much. Hours before Buddy died, my mother heard a voice in the corner of our living room that said, "Hello, there you are." My mother heard it clear as day, and Buddy picked up his head and attempted to bark in that direction. But at the time, he was literally on his deathbed and he could not. What do you think that was? It could have been somebody that was waiting for Buddy that Buddy knew so that he would cross over. And yes, most of you that know me for however long know that my Bashan has been with me now for over 30 some years. He has not crossed over. However, most animals really do cross over. And yeah, he hasn't been gone very long, and so that was probably him snorting just there for a visit. You'll get your answer as soon as you have a dream about him. You will see your pets in dreams too. And like you say, he hasn't been dead very long. What, 10, 12 days? No, today's 20 days. So don't look for a dream anytime soon, but I'm definitely sure you will be seeing him in a dream at some point. This one is from Sheila. I have two small dogs, and two of them have been acting very strangely for about 2 weeks now. Scout is the old Maltese, and he's particularly disturbed. He's normally a bouncy, happy-go-lucky little boy, but he's bothered by nothing. But lately he's been hiding in the basement and shakes with fear when I carry him back upstairs. The only way he'll stay upstairs with me is if I keep my hand on him when he's sitting next to me. Normally, he can't wait to get back in the house when he goes out, but lately I have to drag him in by his lead. He is definitely afraid of something in the house. The second dog, Lucy, is 10 years old, and she's really too old to race around the house, but has actually been doing that for the last 2 weeks. She's running from somebody. My husband also mentioned that he thought he had a glimpse of something a few times in the last week, but didn't mention it to me because he didn't want me to think that he was nuts. I don't know what's going on here, but the dogs are driving us crazy, and I'd sure like to get to the bottom of it. I believe you have an earthbound spirit that came in the house, and the dogs are very, very aware of it. And whoever the spirit is, because you didn't say if your husband saw a man or a woman, but they are obviously been mean to the dogs, and that's why the dogs are afraid. Your dogs are not big dogs. You know, a Yorkie and a Maltese, they're probably not even 15 pounds apiece. So they're going to be afraid of somebody that's been hurting them if they're little. Again, have the house blessed. Start smudging. Call me. Come on Zoom. Let's see what's going on in the house. I mean, your kids should never be afraid to be in their own house, and neither should your animals. Earthbound spirits can be very, very mean to animals. If they didn't like them when they were alive, they're not going to like them when they're dead. And, you know, that's not acceptable. This one is from Maisie. My dog Andy sees something in the corner of my bedroom many nights, and there's nothing that I can see. He studies this corner repeatedly with interest. Also, he constantly looks down the hallway, trying by lying in bed as if he's staring at something or someone. It keeps me a bit on edge. Is it possible he's seeing earthbound spirits? It is. And again, pay attention to your animals. Maybe because the dog isn't growling, maybe this is actually somebody that has died, the dog is known. So just letting you know that they're there. That's what dogs do. They let you know when somebody's in the house, especially if it's not somebody that should be in the house regularly. If you come home and your dog's locked in the laundry room, or locked outside, or locked in a closet, locked down the basement, this has all happened to people that have dogs and ghosts that are in their house that don't like them. You put your dog in a crate when you leave for work because that's the safest place for them. But then all of a sudden the dog's scared to death to go in the crate. Well, yeah. Every time you go to work, the ghost walks over and starts kicking the crate. Why would the dog ever go in? You've got a dog that's 6 or 7 years old, and all of a sudden it runs into the living room while you're watching TV and squats and goes to the bathroom. Something scared the dog. Pay attention to what's going on. And, most people hear this at night, but dogs are just like people. You get used to house noises, TV's on, radios are on, the phone is ringing, cars are going up and down the street. This noise is probably going on during the day too, but at night it's nice and quiet. And that's why everybody tends to hear that more at night than they do during the day. This one is from Elaine. We have lived in our home since last summer. The home was built around 1950. We bought it from the original owner. We've experienced sounds of footsteps upstairs over our bedroom. This usually happens in the evenings. We've also experienced our dogs growling at something in the front yard. When we look, there's nothing out there. Our 10-year-old autistic son has been having nightmares and talking about being afraid of monsters repeatedly over the last couple of weeks. He refuses to sleep alone in his room at night. We always have one of our dogs sleep in his room with him. Is that dog protecting him from an earthbound spirit? We sure hope so. No, the dog can't protect. I mean, what's the dog going to do? Chomp at air? You can't kill something that's already dead. And most ghosts or earthbound spirits just laugh. I mean, if the dog's going to bark at them, they're going to bark back at the dog. You've seen people do that. All of a sudden, the dog barks and you bark back. To this day, I never understand why people do that, but I. But again, but the same thing is going to happen. An earthbound spirit is going to do that too. So just they have opened up front doors where a dog has run out and ran out into the street and gotten killed by a car. They've done that on purpose. They have scared a dog so bad that they ran away, went through an electric fence because the ghost has scared them. And dogs are smart. You know, if they know that there is an earthbound spirit in the house that's being mean to them or hurting them, once they go out to go potty, they're not going to come back in because they're afraid of that spirit. So, again, you've got to pay attention. I hate to see animals suffer. Uh, don't let somebody mess around with your dogs. Um, this one is from Tanya. Do dogs really know if there are spirits in the house? I believe I have at least one in my house. I have had two of my dogs bark consistently, and there's nothing going on, or at least that I can see. And you're right, Tanya, pay attention to the dogs. If they're barking at something. And again, you don't know who it is. A lady had called me up, her dogs wouldn't go down the basement, and they were so scared to go down there. And they were dogs that were hunting dogs. And when they finally went downstairs, they kept like crying at the basement door. What's down there? What's down there? But then when the door would open, they'd be afraid. Well, it turns out that they invited me out to the house, and when I went out, there was definitely a man down the basement. Now, when the dogs were outside or someplace else in the house, the man would go anywhere in the house that he wanted to. But he got great pleasure out of scaring the dogs. And so every time the door was opened, he'd like run up the steps and go, "Rawr!" And they'd back up. So the man left. I got him to cross over, and everything was really great. And about 3 weeks later, this gal called me up and she goes, "Something's going on in the basement again." I said, "You've got to be kidding me." She said, "No." And there was energy there, but I couldn't figure out what the energy was. And I said, "I'll run back out." So I went back out to her house and went down the basement, and there was a spirit of a raccoon down there. And of course, it came in through a basement window. And because these were hunting dogs, they were just, again, there was an animal down the basement. And live pets will act that way if it's the spirit of an animal too. They're still going to let you know. And in all honesty, I had a heck of a time getting that spirit, that raccoon out of the house. I don't talk raccoon, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. And finally, I just shusted it out with the broom and opened the window, even though it didn't have to be opened, and got rid of it. So, and apparently there is a lady, and I should have to probably look it up. I don't know where she's at, but there is a lady that has great success talking to earthbound wild animals. There's a lot of pet communicators out there, but she specializes in wild animals or moose and fox and things like that. So if I ever run across an animal that won't leave a basement, then I definitely will trying to find that lady. Okay, we are done for today. Next week, I've got some more wackadoo letters I'm going to be doing. Yeah, we'll do some more of those. But I thought after last week, we'd try to make this one a little bit more normal. Thanks. Have a great week. Bye bye.